think oftentimes our schools our students getting the short end of the stick, and then they're also getting blamed for whatever the disparities are in their achievement. I am Michael Payne. I am a current instructional coach here in Detroit. I'm also the president and co-founder of Black Male Educators Alliance of Michigan.
Tell me a little bit more about Black Male Educators Alliance.
We're an organization looking to dismantle the impediments that prevent a lot of Black males from coming into the education profession. Right. Our mission is to recruit, retain, and develop Black male educators into being effective teachers so that they can stay in the profession longer and then therefore improve the outcomes of students of color.
What are some of the challenges that you face regularly?
So, well, first, only 2% of all public school teachers are Black males. So when there's an underrepresentation in the beginning, there's hard for advocacy of a certain demographic. What we see early on is that there's not a lot of incentives to go into ed programs in the college. A lot of our students our Black male students aren't finishing college. So then you would just have a smaller pool of choices for gentlemen to even go into education. And one big thing is that education is not really brought up as a career choice to kids early on to even make that decision. And then once they get into careers, if there are a change of career educators as I was, there's not a lot of support around like how to gracefully transition into education and being effective, right? There's a lot of teacher burnout. A lot of educators are isolated as the only Black male, the only teacher of color in their building. So there's a lot of pressure being the only in any situation. So oftentimes that leads to teacher burnout.
Thinking about the pandemic, are there things that you're specifically doing to support teachers during this time?
Absolutely. So we actually are in the midst of a teacher fellowship for Black male educators. It's called Developing Strong Black Male Educators. We started one in the spring, and we have like summer sessions going on, and then we're going to track them throughout the school year just to support them into really implementing culture responsive teaching practices in the school year to improve the outcomes for the students. So we've been doing that over Zoom. We've also held virtual events for educators, open to all educators, around best practices, around mental health, and just creating spaces for teachers to kind of build resources amongst each other and also ask the tough questions that we're all facing. We've also have a podcast called Lifting Our Voices, where we touch on different topics. What I often find is that a lot of educators just need a space where they can vent, or they can collab, or really they can feel that they're with like-minded individuals to make them feel like they're a part of something larger. So we've been able to do that in the virtual space to kind of continue to support our educators.
I'm a glass half full kind of person, silver lining kind of person. And I think this pandemic has definitely threw a wrench in the education system, but I feel like we're going to be forced to really make some improvements that have really just been sitting here and needing to be improved. What if you could focus on one thing, if you had a magic wand and could make the education system look better this way, what would you say that we should focus on? So, I know that's a loaded question. You could think of it.
One thing, like any structure in this country is very, very complex. We want everyone to do well, but it's not set up that way. Right. I think of some of the few things that would support is one, obviously the demographics of the teachers matching more of the demographics of the students, so that students see themselves in their educators. They see success, academic success, and can relate to it. The other thing is obviously equity in education, funding schools more properly. And then also, if there are schools in areas of high need, we need to focus on funding those schools properly and also training those teachers properly to be more effective educators. I think oftentimes our students are getting the short end of the stick, and then they're also getting blamed for whatever the disparities are in their achievement. And then we need to really evaluate how we're measuring success in schools in terms of academics. I think we've recognized that there is a lot of biases in standardized testing. There's a lot of biases in the curriculum, and none of those things are connecting to our students of color at a larger rate. So we need to really reevaluate that so we can start to see how education can be better for our students.
How could we be supportive of the work that you're doing? Because it's very critical.
There are a few things. I think that along with this pandemic, with what's going on in the communities around police brutality and just racial injustice, I think there is a good point for all of us to learn more about the history of this country and the history of racial injustices and how education plays a role in that. So critical consciousness is very important for all of us, understanding the important role of racism. And then how does it play in education? The other part of it is just becoming more and more aware around the concept of culturally responsive teaching, right? That's really what we've been supporting, not only our educators, but other schools in like understanding how culturally responsive teaching improves the educational outcomes for a lot of our students of colors, Black, white, Latino, or whatever. If the curriculum and the pedagogy is engaging, then the students are having better outcomes. And so that's what we want to make sure that everyone understands. Like education is evolving as it should, and we want to make sure it evolves in the right direction where it's more conducive for students to learn and grow.